you're a mother who's restricting or thinking about restricting your daughter's eating because of weight concerns, there are some facts that you need to know. In 2003, there have been a longitudinal study that covered 182 families, showing that maternal restriction on daughters' eating eventually leads to the daughter's overeating behaviors. And on the paper, it says EAH, which stands for eating in absence of hunger behaviors. And this is what they did. Researchers have found 198 families and tracked their implementation of the children's eating, especially whether there have been restrictions implemented at the age of 5 years old. And then they followed up 2 years later when children were 7 years old, and another 2 years later when children were 9 years old. And this is what they found. When a mother restricts the children's eating because of weight concerns, what is essentially leading to is an increase in the children's EAH behavior. EAH stands for eating in absence of hunger. You can understand it's overeating. It also impacts the weight tendency of the children. It impacts the self-evaluation, and also it contributes to restricted eating that's done by them to themselves, which are overrepresented symptoms among the overweight and overeating populations. Most importantly, the study also shows that this restriction from the mother side is actually a trigger for initiation of overeating and binge eating cycles that the children may come across later in life. Another study have shown that children who have been restricted on their eating in their childhood are 3.37 times more likely to develop overeating patterns in the future. This is even more critical for the adolescence years because this is a time when children were more susceptible to the environmental cues. For example, the large portion size. And if they are trained to seek more of the food that were restricted to eat to begin with, they are more likely to get onto this tendency of overeating the wrong things later in life. Now, if 182 families is too small of the sample pool, in 2024, we had another study that covers 1,307 families that covers children around the same age, which is 5 to 9, and they found pretty much consistent results. Another study, longitudinal study that covers 15 years of time span, also found that this can be transgenerational, which means that the adolescents who have been restricted on their eating when they were children tend to have overeating behaviors, weight problems, and in return, they also restrict their children on the same thing. And plenty of